Welcome to Sussex Community Seed Bank. My name is Bernard Mc Donagh, founder of the Seed Bank. At Sussex Community Seed Bank, we are a group of passionate growers from the rural villages and towns of Sussex who take on the responsibility of growing a particular vegetable to seed, harvesting that seed, and then sharing that seed with the other members of the Seed Bank. We only focus on open pollinated seed, which breeds true to type year after year as nature naturally does, and not F1 hybrids, which is the most commonly used seed which is produced by the seed companies today. And that is because you cannot reproduce from the F1 hybrid, because the F1 hybrid is produced, like I said, by the seed companies, and it's produced by using two varieties of a particular vegetable, crossing them, which is producing then the F1. F1 means first generation. And so if you try and save seed from that first generation to make the second generation seed, you cannot do so because the seed companies retain the two parents. At Sussex Community Seed Bank, we have a broad range of experience amongst ourselves. My background is in horticulture and farming. I've got a sitting in guilds in horticulture and also a sitting in guilds in mixed farming. I've been head gardener on two large family estates and spent over 10 years in commercial glasshouse production, which also includes commercial vegetable seed breeding. On the website you'll find information on open pollinated seed, and we suggest you start with a section on open pollinated seed which basically explains the background to open pollinated seed, why it's so important, and the difference between open pollinated seed and F1 hybrid. We then move on to the vegetables, which are in alphabetical order, and we suggest you start with the annuals, those that flower and seed the first year, like for example the legume family, which are dwarf beans, peas, beans, and then as your confidence grows, move on to those that flower and seed in the second year, called biennials. And like I said, this isn't rocket science, it's very easy to do, and just by following a few basic principles one should achieve what one wants to achieve. After vegetables comes a section under small scale cereal growing, and here we've got information on wheat, oats and barley and how to grow that on a small scale. I grow my wheat, oats and barley in rows, and I don't broadcast the seed. It's far more manageable that way, and this is actually how the Chinese cultivate the cereals. We've also, to give you some idea of how much grain you can produce in a small area, about a pound of grain should be produced in about a square metre. We also recommend that you get a book called Small Scale Grain Raising by the author Jean Logson. This is an excellent reference book and not only covers wheat, oats and barley, but all the other cereal grains for small scale cereal growing. And he's just brought out a revised edition, so it's well worth getting that book. We've also produced links to YouTube videos where people have put together small videos on small scale cereal growing as well as hand threshing, which we feel might be relevant to yourselves. The next section is under seed cleaning and drying, and here you'll find information on seed cleaning, drying, harvesting and storing. We suggest have a look at the paper under small scale drying, which is more relevant to yourselves, and then complement it with other information on that section. The next section is useful resources, which is a list of organisations involved with open pollinated plant breeding as well as seed production. And then the next section is seed links, which is a list of organisations where you can buy open pollinated seed in the UK. Here we'd like to say a big thank you to a number of organisations and people who are helping us with this project. Firstly, the Millennium Seed Bank. We are truly blessed in having the Millennium Seed Bank on our doorstep at Wakehurst Place in East Sussex. They've provided us technical assistance, and you'll find that information as regards technical assistance under seed cleaning and drying, and also have donated germination and seed drying equipment to our project. A big thank you to Keith Manger and his team at the Millennium Seed Bank. We'd also like to thank Plumton Agricultural College, our local agricultural college. As you know, agricultural colleges are there to serve the needs of the community. Plumton College had the foresight of seeing the importance of this project and have offered land as well as assistance on this project, so a big thank you to Plumpton on this. We'd also like to thank Peter Brinch, who is an open pollinated plant breeder. Peter lives and breathes open pollinated seed, and it's been a real pleasure getting to know him, and thanks Peter for allowing us to use information that you've produced on open pollinated seed on our website. And lastly but not least, I'd like to thank Paul Craggs, who's an organic cereal grower, who's provided us with cereal grains for our trials of wheat, oats and barley. My grandfather farmed on the west coast of Ireland, and he religiously kept his own seed, vegetable as well as cereal, year after year. That generation did, and previous generations before him. We need to ask ourselves, what broke that link from there until now? What caused us to stop really seed saving? And that was roughly about 80 to 100 years ago. It was really the onset of cheap fossil fuels, which brought in the age of mechanised farming, the age of the supermarket, which replaced your local greengrocer. The supermarkets demanded from the growers vegetables which were uniform in appearance and could travel long distances, because as you know, vegetables come into a central distribution centre, cleaned, packaged and then sent out across the country. So these demands were put across the plant breeders to come up with these new varieties, and this brought in the development of the F1 hybrid, which today is the most commonly used seed. As we know, the age of cheap energy is over. We see this on a daily basis with the rise in petrol and gas prices. To put things in perspective here, if we quote the International Energy Agency, they say today we consume 90.5 million barrels of oil a day. That equals to 1 billion barrels of oil we are consuming every 11.5 days. If one just ponders on that for a moment, and that we are consuming over 1 billion barrels of oil every 11.5 days, any reasonable, intelligent person on hearing that would soon come to the conclusion that our present way of life is unsustainable, and that a return to a more local, sustainable way of living is inevitable. Community seed banks can play an important role in this respect. We at Sussex Community Seed Bank believe you cannot have local food security unless you have local seed security, and you cannot have local seed security unless you're using open pollinated seed, which is true to type year after year as nature naturally does.